Brooks here with you to wrap up the BlueCross Bowl and the 2022 season here on the Midstate 48, powered by Miracle Auto Group. Go ahead and bring in other guys. I've got Scott and Cam with me. Guys, welcome in. I know it's kind of surreal to say that this season just ended, but here we are several days after the BlueCross Bowl talking about it all.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. How about you guys?
I'm feeling it, but I'm also starting to get a little depressed. This is, the best time of the year. We get it for roughly 8 months of the year, but we're heading towards the home stretch here. We are finished with high school ball, finishing up here quickly with college ball, and then February the Super Bowl will be here before you know it, and then we have 4 long months before we do this again.
Oh, there'll be things going on before you know it. 7-on-7s around the corner. We'll keep everybody informed. We'll have plenty for you.
There'll be stuff to talk about for sure. Yeah,
for sure.
No, we don't have to worry about that for very long. And still plenty of stuff to talk about in the off season as far as our players of the year and all area teams, and then National Signing Day. Stay tuned for that. There may be a little something coming down the pike on that one too. So, not quite done here with all the stuff for the 2022 season, but in this episode we got to talk about it. And let's start with the biggest news that's come down in just the last few hours. TSSAA has pushed through NIL, name, image, and likeness for athletes in Tennessee. It was a unanimous vote, 12-0 in favor of passing NIL immediately. It's when it takes.
Well, they had to do it. They had to do it because if they hadn't, they risked a lawsuit, litigation. Somebody would have pushed for it. It's happening. It's going to eventually be in every state. I mean, there's just it's coming. So just prepare. Boy, it didn't take long to get once they said go to get them out the gate, did it?
No, it definitely didn't. It's like these deals were kind of already in the works. They were just waiting on the word.
Yeah, the big thing is, guys, just like in college ball, anytime you start something new like this, it's going to take time to figure out the small details, the fine details, and what should be allowed and what should not be allowed. If this thing is treated the way that it should be and ran the way that it should be, guys, this does nothing to our game except benefit some kids, benefit some players that are lucky enough to get some NIL deals and be able to, have something or do something nicer. Now, if it turns into a recruiting pitch for some coaches like it has in college, then that's where we start to have a problem and it really taking over the game at that point.
Well, that's going to happen, but that's happened for years. In one respect or another, I believe TSSAA referenced a car dealer that tried to do something similar to this. It's been some years ago that we've seen that, and I think if I understand correctly, as long as the school's not involved, that there can be some movement, there can be some enticements. It's kind of hard, though, to fault. I mean, it's kind of hard to fault the kids, taking advantage of this. Football has changed the way that these kids. It's different from the way when I played. It's different from the way, some generations after me played. It's so much goes into it with lifting programs and nutrition and you got club ball type things, 7-on-7s. It's a year-round thing. This has turned into a job for these kids. So why shouldn't they be compensated?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the main thing here is if the school can't be involved and you can't have any posts on social media with, school logos or TSSAA logos, and you can't reference any accomplishments. That's another thing that they're going to have to navigate. And the biggest thing I see out of this is, as prevalent as social media is now in our lives, it's really a big part of players, their background, because they have it like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or whatever. that's going to be the biggest thing. You're going to see a lot of stuff on social media that will really be beneficial for their NIL programs and for their bank accounts, honestly. And that's the one thing I'm really looking to see in the next few months as these things start to take hold.
And I'll credit TSSAA right now. They didn't go in. They went. They opened it up without. They put a loose group of rules around to kind of let it play out and let it see, instead of trying to, get their hands around the whole thing and just watch everything, slide out of their fingers. They're really taking a holistic approach to this, which I think is a really good idea. The biggest problem that I see with NIL, besides the fact that you are likely to see some recruiting, I hate saying recruiting, but an enticement, because recruiting, it really makes you think of the school and not a booster or a fan or something like that, is the jealousy aspect. I think that, you're going to start, you're going to see instances of locker room degradation, or, you mentioned social media. You got one guy that's, representing, one thing, and then a bunch of the players on the other team, kind of pile on something like that, those types of things, those are the pitfalls you have to watch out for.
Yeah. And we dial it back for just a minute. Just remember that when the TSSAA put this out to the administrators, I think it got a 90% approval vote from those administrators. So the schools were massively in favor of this. So, it's something to keep in mind as well.
And it'll be interesting to see also that as this goes on, if schools want to be associated with the player, will they challenge TSSAA to allow those? Because the way I understand it right now, there's some loose law or guidelines. There's some wiggle room there that TSSAA is going to have to negotiate when it comes to schools that actually want, let's just say Junior Sherrill. I'm just throwing a name out there. If Lipscomb wanted that, to be associated with him, associated with a business, right now he can't be any part of that. If they wanted to, then legal entanglements there. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just very early in the process, and we'll see kind of how that takes hold and how many kids do really benefit from it. I mean, it's a big deal, but I don't know that necessarily it's going to tear the fabric of high school football apart. I don't see that happening.
No,
there's still way too many out there.
And you're talking about what, the top 1 or 2% of players, probably.
If that might even be 0.5%.
Yeah.
So now we have to hand out some hardware for the BlueCross Bowl championship games. It is our Player of the Week presented by Miracle Auto Group, or should we say Players of the Week? Because there are two.
Yep.
Well, one vote for offense, one for defense in the championship games this week. And let's start with that offensive side. You had Friendship Christian's Brock Montgomery, 7 catches, 111 yards, 3 touchdowns for him in their championship game victory over Nashville Christian. Porcone's Darius Reed, 6 catches, 178 yards, and 2 scores. But Porcone fell in their championship game to Anderson County. NBA's Marcel Reed, it was a losing effort, but 16-24 for 263 yards, 5 touchdowns through the air, 8 carries, 78 yards for the NBA signal caller. Lipscomb Academy Junior Sherrill, 11 catches, 141 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 7 carries for 60 yards, and another score in the Mustangs win over CPA. Porcone's Keyshawn Tarleton, 11 for 17, 275 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns. And Oakland's Eric Taylor, 18 carries, 175 yards, and 4 touchdowns for him in the Patriots win over Beach. fan vote concluded with Brock Montgomery getting their vote this week. So the Friendship Christian standout has that important vote. Top dog, if you can't be with us this week, is going with Marcel Reed for his standout performance. Cam, you went Brock Montgomery.
I did set the tone early in that matchup with a big long touchdown reception. Really was the difference for the Commanders on the offensive side of the ball. Didn't seem like National Christian had an answer for him. Picked up several, scored 3 touchdowns, but picked up a couple third and fourth down conversions on simple drag routes where he just outrun the corner that was guarding him. When Friendship needed to play, they went to Montgomery, and he made them, and ultimately helped bring home a go ball.
Scott, you picked Eric Taylor.
Yeah, in a game where running was, going to be the premier thing going on there. That Eric Taylor just he beat up on that Beach defense. That second quarter was pretty much all him, and getting 4 touchdowns against that Beach defense, I thought was just a big time. It was big time performance by a big time player.
Speaking of those, I took Junior Sherrill, and he was nearly untouchable against CPA. If he got his hands on the football, he was headed for the end zone. It didn't take long to get there. 4 total touchdowns, 201 total yards on 18 touches. Yeah, a dream game for him, and he got my vote for Player of the Week. But with 2 votes out of this group, it's Brock Montgomery from Friendship Christian getting our Offensive Player of the Week for the BlueCross Bowl. Now let's flip to the defensive side. More Friendship Christian love here. Carlando Broughton for Friendship Christian. 7 tackles, 2 solo, 2 tackles for a loss, and an interception for the Commanders. Jorge de Arroyo, if I messed his name up, I'm sorry. 4 tackles, all of them solo, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss, and a forced fumble. Oakland Strel Franklin, 7 solo tackles, 10 in total, as he plugged up that Oakland line against Beach. Page's Eric Hazard, 11 total tackles, 6 solo, 2 sacks, which, if I'm not mistaken, came out back-to-back plays. 4 tackles for a loss and a forced fumble. Oakland's Nathan Hepburn, 8 tackles, 2 solo, 2 tackles for a loss and a forced fumble. And Friendship Christian's Tyler Smiley, 3 tackles, 1 of those solo, and 2 interceptions, including one of those ran back for a touchdown in that close win over Nashville Christian. Fans voted for Eric Hazard. So did Tom. Cam, you went with Tyler Smiley.
I did. Eric Hazard was my number 2. It was tough to pick against him, but ultimately I went with the team that won on championship Thursday. And Tyler Smiley, what 2 bigger plays than a pick 6 against a guy that has only thrown 4 or 5 interceptions this year, and then an interception to end the game with 17 seconds left. And it just so happens the same player caught both, and that was Tyler Smiley.
Scott, you second that one.
I did. As Kim said, no bigger play than that initial pick 6 that gave Friendship a 2-touchdown lead in a game that was going back and forth. It really kind of put the game out of reach. And then, the coup de grace, the interception at the end as Nashville Christian was moving to tie the game, and he ends their drive with an interception. To me, there weren't any much bigger plays than those 2 in a game that was only a 7-point difference.
It's really difficult for a player on a team that did not have a close outcome to make this list on the defensive side. But Eric Hazard's performance certainly was worthy of him being on this list. That said, I had to agree with Cam and Scott. I went Tyler Smiley as well, really just because he made the play that won it. I mean, when you had to have a play to win a state championship, he made that play at the end of the game, and he's going to not only catch a couple of interceptions, but he's also going to catch a Player of the Week award for that defensive effort. So Friendship Christian getting both out of the BlueCross Bowl with Brock Montgomery and Tyler Smiley winning Miracle Auto Group Player of the Week awards for the final time this season. So, and to
And
Scott, you got some.
Yeah, well, I just want to say, and I just want to make sure that we have a special shout out to Miracle Auto Group for sponsoring this award every week. What a great company, what a great group over there to support high school football this year.
And while we're at it, let's hear from them.
Hi, everyone. Jim Galvin, Miracle Ford, your Ford dealer in Gallatin, Tennessee since 1980. Great news beginning now. When you need service, we can come to you.
Our mobile service van comes to you wherever you are. Whether you need oil change, lube, routine maintenance, warranty, filters, wiper blades, batteries, bulbs, recalls, and more.
Visit our website
or call us now.
Are you ready for a miracle?
I need all that stuff.
Who doesn't?
Hey, if you need a Shelby GT 500, come on by. We got one on the lot.
Oh man, you sent me that picture today. You made me cry.
I had to stop for a minute just to look at it and admire it, just because it was beautiful. But
it is
price tag was not.
Folks, we are talking about a $120,000 car there at the dealership at Miracle Ford. It is one of 3 in the United States in that color with that package, but it's definitely a sick ride. And if you can afford it, come on by.
See Cam, he'll show it to you.
Keywords there if you can afford it. But yeah, thanks to Miracle Auto Group for sponsoring the Player of the Week awards this year and this show for that matter. Can't thank you enough for that. Let's go back to last weekend in Chattanooga, guys, for a minute and just talk about what we saw from those games and what stood out to you the most. We've had our standout performances. We've just awarded those. But what else stuck out to you from those championship games? Scott,
Chattanooga whiskey glazed wings.
Very good. Very good, by the way. Yes. Southside Social over there, just next door to Kenley Stadium. It was a good place. It was a good place.
Well, what stood out to me about that was the performance of Midstate schools. Kind of got it handed to them this year. If they weren't playing each other, then somebody from west or east was winning the game, and that kind of surprised me going into these games. And there were a lot of close games, a lot of good games this year. There were only a few that really got out of hand, early. So I thought that the football was really good. Again, the venue was stellar. Chattanooga was a great host, and I really, really enjoyed the experience, and I think that from the fans that I saw, they did too.
Yeah, really the 2 big ones that I'll take away. The first one and the biggest one to me was, guys, Metro was closing the gap. Not won championship since 2008. First time ever, I believe, sending 2 Metro schools to a state championship weekend in the same weekend with East Nashville and Pearl-Cohn. East Nashville hung tough for quite a while with Alcoa, just a couple of mistakes there, and quarterback Zach Beard going down with an injury. Alcoa was able to pull away a little bit, and then Pearl-Cohn losing by 4 to Anderson County in a year where literally everybody said they're a year away. So Pearl has not reached their top yet. They're definitely a team to look out for next year. A little bit of foreshadow there. But Metro is closing the gap, guys, with coaches like Jamal Stewart and coaches like Tony Brunetti. Those guys are legit football coaches that have brought discipline, have brought character, have brought the goods to Davidson County, and they're starting to show on the football field. And then number 2 is, guys, this was your opportunity to beat Oakland, and nobody did it. So the Patriots, it's going to take something strange happening for them not to be back in Chattanooga again next year, possibly.
Yeah, that was kind of my biggest takeaway is, Oakland did it again. And not only that, it was a dominant second half performance over Beach. Now, give credit to Beach there, that first half, to keep it to 14-6. Now, they did a very good job there. but they just got worn down in the second half. Oakland's depth, as we kept talking about, kind of the key thing there. And then Eric Taylor let loose in the third quarter.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I think that not being able to punch that in when they had a chance there early in the third quarter. After that, it was gone.
Yeah, that game really swung on that first drive out of half. You have to wonder as a football fan what happens if they do take the field goal there, and it is 14-9 at that point. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, and that's the way the games go. And oddly enough, Eric Taylor bust a 70-plus yard run on the very first play after that, and things just kind of steamrolled on Coach Crabtree's bunch.
Yeah.
Let's then go back to Thursday as well. The way Lipscomb Academy just kind of marched on to another title for the end of Trent Dilfer's reign there with the Mustangs. It was impressive. You can't really say anything other than that. I mean, they literally just manhandled CPA for the most part.
Well,
yeah,
we're talking NIL, so
yeah,
one of the best teams money can buy. Am I right? So many just totally talented players on that Lipscomb Academy team. You'll see. I'll go ahead and tell you. You'll see multiple of those guys playing on Sundays, not just Saturdays. On Sundays, going forward. Just way too much talent for CPA. I feel like Coach Martin and CPA really felt pressed, or you could tell early on. Going into that game, we mentioned that they had to follow a game plan, and they didn't really try to follow a game plan. They knew they were going to have to score points, so they were airing it out early and often. I believe they finished the game with 12 carries for 46 yards, so averaging almost 4 yards a pop, which is about where you want to be for that ground and pound game plan that we said that they needed to follow. But ultimately, Lipscomb put up 42, and Coach Martin knew he was going to need points and just couldn't find any.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
Second year in a row they got shut out in the championship game too.
Yeah. You look at some of the stats there. Lipscomb 10 of 11 on third downs compared to 1 of 9 for CPA. CPA with 80 yards total offense, only 5 first downs, where Lipscomb had 23. We talk a lot about Trent Dilfer and offense, but this defense was no joke this year. May have been one of the best defenses ever in Tennessee high school football, just for the sheer talent on that team.
Yeah, and I want to give a quick shout out to Coach Lee down at Vanderbilt. You have a complete stud coming your way in Junior Shura, buddy. Running the ball, catching the ball, special teams. He's going to be one to watch in the SEC, and I definitely think that's a steal for Vanderbilt.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the other Thursday games, Friendship Christian at Nashville Christian game, we talked about it maybe be the best game of the weekend. Arguably, you could say it was. Came down to a play there at the end. Tyler Smiley made it.
Yeah, it's really all weekend. The story was points. Every game, the story was points, and ultimately in that game, you saw, going into that game, we really said to ourselves, is Jared Curtis going to be a freshman? Finally, is he going to be a freshman? Is the moment, too big for him? And the moment was not too big for him. He performed. He had about a 6-minute stretch there in the third quarter where he was a freshman. Made a couple of mistakes, and Friendship capitalized on them, being a senior-heavy team, just a really fundamental team. And they capitalized on the mistakes and ultimately brought home the gold ball.
Yeah, it really was a score. It really was going to come down to who had the ball last, and Tyler Smiley kind of up, making that big play. Kind of broke that cycle. The Eagles had a chance there at the end, but, this was about an even of a game. We talked about a contrast in styles. Well, let's just call it what it was. Garrett Weekly came out throwing. We expected to run, and Brock Montgomery just torched that Eagles secondary. And, and it really became, a horse race there at the end. It was, who was going to run out of gas, and it just so happened that the Eagles ran out of gas at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, that Thursday nighter, NBA and Baylor. What does NBA have to do to get a gold ball lately? Because they let that one slip through their fingers.
Yeah, that your heart breaks for those kids because this was the team to do it. I mean, this honestly was the team to do it. They were excelling on all sides of the ball. Your quarterback is excellent, and I think it really came down to the mistake. He fumbled the ball, and that kind of once again broke that cycle of give and take.
We got to talk about it. Unfortunately.
Yep.
We have to talk about it. And I want to start this by saying we're not taking anything away from Baylor. You're the state champions, rightfully so. That game is the exact reason replay needs to be at the state championships. I understand that you cannot have it throughout the season at every field. That's not what we're asking for. You are costing kids a chance at a state championship. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. We saw two really, really, really bad calls in that game. A non-called offensive pass interference and a play where the ball was punched out at the 2-yard line, and they said that he was in before the ball was punched out, both resulting in Baylor touchdowns. So you cannot say that it did not have an impact on the outcome, as they both led to points, immediate points, not next play points on that particular play points. That's just the lead up. There were missed calls over every game, but that game in particular, I feel like those calls ultimately changed the outcome of that game, unfortunately for NBA. Now, with that said, did NBA go and fumble afterwards when they had a chance to go down and win the game? Yes. Their first lost fumble of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
And, you hate it for those seniors. They've been to 3 state championship games, and they have 3 silvers to answer for it. You hate that. But at the end of the day, you played them in week 10. You gave up 34. You played them in the championship game. You gave up 38. Baylor made more adjustments.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Cam. I think that, those were 2 obvious and glaring calls. Or non-calls. That punch out happened right in front of me, and I still can't understand how they missed that one. And then the OPI was pretty egregious. It's unfortunate. Now I'm sure Coach Uvar to be the first one to tell you they got to overcome those and things like that. But it's unfortunate, and I agree with you. It's not because referees are bad; it's because they need help. And as these games and kids get faster and faster, and as these games get faster and faster, it's hard to see everything.
And it's at the state championship level. It's important we get it right. At the end of the day, if you miss a call in the regular season, you missed a call. You miss a call in the state championship game, you're affecting a state championship outcome at that point.
Yeah, I mean, look at it this way. Other states are already doing it. If Tennessee wants to be out front and not be reactive, they need to go ahead and do it. And if that means going with a different production company to produce the telecast, so be it. But you got to get it right. And ultimately they haven't. And that's something that they've got to take a hard look at this immediately in order to not make the same mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, the stadiums are set up, they're set up for it. So,
yeah,
it wouldn't take much.
Yeah, I'm sure if you were watching the games, you heard some loud boos and other things going on. That's because they were showing the replay on the Jumbotron right after.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these Friday games real quick. I mean, East Nashville and Alcoa. Just you wonder kind of what if for East Nashville. What if they were able to kind of keep pace a little bit longer with Alcoa and maybe.
Well,
it's real simple. It's real simple.
Go ahead,
It was 21-20. They gave up 10 points in 31 seconds.
Yep.
Going into the halftime. You went from a 21-20 game to a 31-20 game going into the half. Second half was not the same. Zach Beard goes down pretty quickly with an injury, and East Nashville just didn't have an answer for Alcoa's run game. Really, is what it came down to. Lance Williams, three-A Mr. Football winner, had his way with defense end, linebackers, safeties, defense linemen, whoever you put in front of him for East Nashville. Really, for that matter, probably anybody in any classification. He's just a bulldozer. And Alcoa took advantage, ran behind him all night, and East Nashville couldn't find an answer.
Yeah, I think, and it shoulda, woulda, coulda. When you start second guessing, and I don't want to second guess coach, but I'm going to go through and kind of just it was the sequence. It was that short kick after scoring that gave Alcoa a short field. Then they score, and then you mishandle the kick on the next kick, and so they end up scoring like 24 points, like in 2 minutes and 26 seconds later.
And if we're talking about that particular play on the kickoff, that's another missed call by the referees.
Yep.
By the way, they whistled the ball dead as the Alcoa player is diving on the ball. The Alcoa player never has possession. At that point, if the ball goes into the end zone, it's a touchback. If the ball does not go into the end zone because he never gained control of the ball, it's an inadvertent whistle, and you replay the kick.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
that one really changed. I mean, Alcoa got 3 points out of that sequence, that part of the sequence, but still, that was a big 3 points here. You never know.
Yeah. Well, and when I say Alcoa only had the ball for 2 minutes and 26 seconds in the second quarter and scored 24 points in the second quarter. I mean, that was just a really bad sequence of events. And yeah, you're right, Cam. There was, there's another missed call that puts you behind the eight ball, as it were. It was the turnovers in this game that got them because, quite frankly, East Nashville's in the game at 31-26 at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately they needed to try to finish and were able to do so. And it's silver again for East Nashville, second year in a row for them. And then Procon, had their chances, but ultimately could not overcome Anderson County. And they fell in a close one with Saturday.
Well, let's talk about the dog. That was a nice dog.
It was. Yeah, Ella, the dog for Anderson County, who very valiantly retrieved the tee after every kickoff and did a great job of it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a nice change of pace.
Mm-hmm.
And before we start on Pearl, just want to give kudos to Anderson County and really their fans and their players. They were super respectful. Just really happy to be there. Their first trip to a state championship game. Finally got over the hump of Greenville. They've had some quality teams in the last 10 years, but they've always ran into Greenville. This year they got past that and brought home a gold ball. And as far as Pearl-Cohn goes, defensively, I thought that they played pretty well. Really made Anderson drive the ball. They struggled in the first half a little bit with the screen plays and stuff like that for Anderson, with the linebackers getting too committed to the run game that Anderson had going early on in the game with Moog and Gavin No, Navy commit. But ultimately, I don't think we saw enough deep plays. That's the one thing for me, because Pearl hit Reed on a couple big plays. They hit Higgins on a big play, had 2 80-yard touchdown throws, and we were trying to run the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they showed Anderson as much respect as we just gave them. They did not have anybody on their sideline that could guard Reed at all.
Not at all.
And I don't feel like Pearl took full advantage of that. But he is a junior. He'll be back. So will quarterback Tarleton, which went down before the last drive, unfortunately.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see if he could have finished that drive as they were, as they were going down there at the very end. What he might have done. The stats that really stood out to me was the 49 yards rushing. You talked about that, Cam. Pearl never could get their running game going. Meanwhile, Anderson County did a really good job of finishing drives, extending drives with the run. Pearl never could get off the field. Pearl was 1 of 7 on third down conversions, but Anderson County was 9 of 17. That's, when you have 17 third downs to 7, first of all, that tells you that Pearl's quick striking and Anderson's just grinding. The second thing is that they had, they did more than half. They were successful. So when your defense can't get off the field, and when your offense is playing, is scoring and having to go quick or going in and out, your defense gets gassed. And I think that's what happened at the tail end of this game.
Page, unfortunately, takes it on the chin against Knoxville West. What might be the most impressive performance of the weekend by Knoxville West.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We heard about Braden Latham all week heading into that game, and I really thought Page handled him very, very well for the most part of that game. I know he broke a couple of runs, but the big thing was, it was 0-0 at the end of one. We thought we were finally getting a defensive matchup. Finally, after all the points we've seen up to that point. And then they go back and forth 2 times, and West really figured Page out defensively and was able to throw some quick game, little out routes and stuff like that to get their athletes in space, and just really took advantage. And, Page just couldn't keep up. Another big thing, a big moment in that game was in the second quarter. Colin Hurd goes down with an ankle injury. Was able to play through it in the second half, but he was not mobile at all, and really wasn't stepping into his throws the way that he normally would. But really, West got up, and Page was having to try to play catch up, and just couldn't do it with Hurd not being able to step into his throws.
I'll give you a stat: -6 yards, -6 yards rushing for Page, and that. As a team that will throw the ball but likes to run it, or at least it likes to be balanced, they just could not get anything going on the ground. 0 for 11 on third downs, but the one that really jumped out at me was that they were 1 for 1 in the red zone, but one time. And then, you look at, Knoxville West there just really took off. And again, 26-point second quarter. They had 4 straight TD drives from the late first quarter into the late in the second quarter. Well, no, I'm sorry, into the fourth quarter. So, I mean, it was just a dominant performance by Knox West.
Yeah. Take nothing away from this Page team, though, because, I mean, the way that they got through the postseason to get there, having to win 3 tough playoff games on the road, it's a job well done for them. A second straight runner-up is not obviously what they wanted, but it's still nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, what a group of seniors to be able to battle back and get there.
I mean, I honestly believe that this may have been Coach Rathbone's finest job coaching this year. He really took a team that was trying to find its identity early in the year, and trying to change a linebacker into a quarterback, as a full-time starter. I really think that he did a masterful job this year, and these kids did a masterful job. They just ran up against a very talented Knoxville West team that was kind of a team of destiny. Cam, you kept saying that, there's always one team, every year that seems to just have it all together. And this is probably that team.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely was a telling sign to me that I don't know. I can't remember a team that's beaten Alcoa and Maryville in the same year. And West did that this year, going 15-0. You know, they're the clear cut 5A state champs. And honestly, as a football fan, I kind of would like to have seen what would have happened if they met Oakland.
Speaking of, let's go ahead and discuss that one briefly. We've talked about it already at length. Oakland with a three-peat, first time in 6A. And, as impressive as the last 2 years were, this team might have been even more impressive in that some people were expecting them to fail.
Well, I think that just speaks to Coach Creasy more than anything. Some teams have good teams, and they make a run and they win a state championship. Coach Creasy is a program builder. He rebuilt in his own way at Trousdale County after taking over for Clint Satterfield in 2008. And then what he's done at Oakland is really just Oakland's they're clearly the perennial public school in the state of Tennessee, and they may be the number one target school in Tennessee if you're an outside person wanting to move to the state and play at a high level program. And that's a testament to what he's done over there. And really, it's a never ending thing for them. When I say program, I mean they have freshmen and sophomores right now that in the media room, they're already talking about them being Mr. Football candidates when they're juniors and seniors. They're already talking about Avery Hainsworth, which got maybe 30 carries this year, but he's going to be a stud next year. T.T. Hill was a sophomore this year. He's going to be their lead back next year. And not to mention, it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Creasy's son, Kyler, does as possibly the starting quarterback next year for Oakland. So Oakland's not going anywhere, guys. They have it building up. The freshman team is 32-0 in the last 4 years, average scoring over 50 points a game. They're not going nowhere. If you were going to beat them, this was the year to beat them, and nobody did that. And nobody's figured out. We thought with Coach Jackson leaving that the defensive side of the ball for Oakland might take a step back, and it did at the first half of the year. But after that CPA game, they really got focused in and figured it out on the defensive side of the ball. And I expect them just to keep building momentum into next year.
It's going to be interesting to see what it's like with two Creasy's on the field next year. Actually, I don't know, Chris, if I recall correctly, when we were talking with him on Coaches in Q, he said that his daughter, you recall that? His daughter knew as much about football.
Yeah.
So she may be wearing a headset. There may be a whole sideline of Creasy's over there.
There could be. There very well could be.
This game was close in the first half. We talked about that it was a one-score game going into half. But when I realized that Oakland was just dominating, when we saw that 16-play, 91-yard march that took up 8 minutes of time and just ground Beach and almost used them up. I mean, that right there took a lot out because they never could get done. I mean, Oakland 5 for 5 in red zone chances. They just, if they stopped, usually they stop themselves. But I would like to know what it would have been if Beach could have come out of there after halftime and just that one in and actually had a chance to take the lead at that point. If I'm not mistaken, it was 14-6.
14-6.
Could have tied it. Yeah, 14-6. I was thinking of the East game. Could have tied it. Would have been interesting to see what would happen. I think the end result would have been the same because we started to see Beach just get worn down. It came down to what we talked about, the depth of Oakland. Oakland is a machine. And it's just, they have a part wear out, they replace it. But you know what? They don't have a part wear out because they're constantly, moving whole platoons in. That was the thing that got me. You go into a package and it's not you brought in one player, maybe two. No. There were 5, 6 players coming in at one time. They're moving whole platoons in, and you do that, the team that you're playing against won't get a chance to breathe.
It's just like Alabama and Georgia in college football, guys. It's you talk about changing platoons. The problem is not that you're changing out fresh bodies. The problem is the platoon that's coming in is just as good as the platoon that just went off the field, and that's the problem for other teams anyway.
But I think you got to give it to the Beach Buccaneers. So, they got this far, and toe to toe with the big bad wolf, and stayed in the ring.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that game would be over with at halftime, and Beach hung around, and they were right there. They were right there physically with Oakland. They weren't just right there, score wise. That was a back and forth game. There was hard hits going both ways. Both defenses playing well. The one big takeaway from that game is, and one big takeaway from Beach really, Darius Johnson had a decent night, went over 100 yards. But guys, throughout the playoff run, he relied on big, long touchdown runs. And he would break through the line and look like he was about to bust one, and they would tackle him for a 9-yard gain. Where it was a 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown run during the playoff run, Oakland would tackle him for an 8 or 9-yard gain. They kept the big play from happening.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Work.
They tackled extremely well.
Good work for the second and third levels, especially too, because a lot of secondaries don't tackle that well in those situations, but Oakland's does, and that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. All right, let's take a break, and then we'll come back for a few more things before we wrap up. Let's see here real quickly from Enemy Medical.
That to be my ringtone now.
One thing we have not discussed yet is the Mr. Football winners, who were also announced on Wednesday, and all 10 of those. Then we'll bring that list up here. You kind of see on the screen. The Midstate flavor was limited to 6A and Division Division II classes, basically.
Yep, and there's not a undeserving winner in any of these groups. I think that the biggest eyebrow raise was in Class 5A with Malachi Dow, but you can't take anything away from Deshaun Bishop. He had a heck of a year, and well deserving of that award.
Yeah, it's Junior Sherrill, Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed gets his. He was the runner-up last year, and now gets a winner's trophy this time. And Junior Sherrill and his teammate Caleb Beasley were both finalists, and Sherrill gets the nod for Lipscomb Academy. Smyrna's Arian Carter and Blackman's Justin Brown was also a finalist, but Carter gets the nod. And DJ Merriweather for Clarksville Academy over Nashville Christian's Jared Curtis.
Yeah, that was what a performance this year by DJ Merriweather. Really carried that Clarksville Academy team.
Offensively and defensively, guys. And I think he's the punter, too. I mean, like I said, I think he did everything except sell tickets, and he may have done that. Tremendous performance this year by Merriweather. Incredibly deserving. And how about Arian Carter? I mean, that's a heck of a kid that, started out, looked like running back was going to be where he settled in at, and turned into be one of the more ferocious linebackers in the Midstate.
And I'll just go ahead and put it out there. He's going to be one of those ferocious linebackers you see in the SEC too. Not sure where yet, but I feel really confident he's going to be in the SEC.
Yeah. And let's not forget the other area finalists in 4A. Macon County Skateboarders was a finalist. In 2A, East Robertson Seek Prince was a finalist there as well. And a good year overall for getting finalist name, and 4 of them from the area have the hardware to show for it. So.
What a year for Zeke. And then I believe we've mentioned several times on the show, Gabe is just a sophomore as well. Don't think he's going anywhere. I would definitely expect him back barring anything crazy happening.
And Marcel Reed caps a tremendous career. He doesn't get the gold ball. It's the only thing that I think that he lacked, but he's going to go on and do great things. Well deserving of the Mr. Football in class Division II Class AAA.
Yeah, and congratulations to all of those winners for outstanding seasons. For sure. A little different that we don't have games to pick this week, but we do need to take care of some business. Who you got? Cam, your eyes lit up when I said who you got. I almost don't want to do this now, but we have to. But we have to. Let's go over those picks real quick from last week. I had to take my Hail Mary shot there at the end, and did hit Baylor over NBA, but that was the only one that I got out of that run. Reggie tried to get Riverside CPA through. It didn't work for him. Scott, you and I had Nashville Christian, and we came up a couple plays short.
Yep.
On the second page. On the second page is where the carnage happened with East Nashville, Page, and Procom. Guys, we tried. We tried to get y'all in and get you some gold balls.
Yeah.
It didn't work out, so don't blame us. Don't blame us. But Tom had a nice little week, and he actually went 8-1 out of all those last week, but wasn't quite enough to overtake the fans who are going to end up tied for second with me. So congratulations to you guys. So
yeah. I tied the cat. I thought the cat beat.
You had enough of a cushion, though.
Yeah.
But Cam, congratulations. So,
congratulations, Cam.
Not just for
long
the
stressful year, and towards the back half, just had to be conservative.
Oh my gosh, he pulled the sweep.
He did pull the sweep. Yep. But hey, I mean,
I'll take our winning percentage. I'll take our winning percentage though, even though I finished in last. I'll take our winning percentage against anybody.
I mean, we're all hitting around 79, 80, 81% for the year, picking nearly 700 games. That's not bad. Not bad at all.
No, not at all. And I know we could take a lot of flack from fans every once in a while on who we pick. But guys, if you want to, vote online, keep up with your picks, and see how you do.
Yeah. So that is it for who you got, and that's really going to do it for most of the show. But we do have to take care of a last word from each of us for not just the BlueCross Bowl, but for the season itself. Cam, since you won who you got and you swept it, I'm going to let you go first with it.
Yeah, I said it on last week's Midstate 48, guys. It's just a huge thank you. I also want to thank you, Chris, and you, Scott, for bringing me in this year. It's been an honor to work with you guys this year. I hope to be back again next year. It's been different for me not being in a radio booth, still getting accustomed to that, and still getting accustomed to not saying we when we're talking about Trousdale County every time. But it's definitely been something that I've enjoyed doing and look forward to doing in the future. And it's really allowing me to branch out and make more relationships with coaches and fans and players. And I really didn't realize how much fun that could be just in itself. So I want to thank you guys for that. And to our fans, guys, we got some more bigger things hopefully coming next year that all three of us are talking about. And we look forward to having you on. And just because we're going to have a little bit of a break here between actual football, still follow us on social media. We'll be all up on it. Several head coaching jobs open. And again, follow us on social media. And then tell your friends. Tell your friends. We need those subscriptions. We need those likes. We need those shares. We appreciate you, and you're really what make this thing go is the fans.
Hi there. I really want to say thanks to both Cam and Chris and Tom, for putting in the hard work that they do. It's a tough gig doing the things that they do. Whether it be interviews or the things you don't see behind the scenes that they do day in, day out to provide quality. And I think that's what, when we started this, Chris and I, that was the one thing we wanted to do, was provide a quality content and outlet for the kids. And I think that, we continue, that's our mission to promote these kids in this area. We're still doing it, and with your help, we hope to continue doing that. So thank you very much for staying with us. And as Cam said, yes, please tell your friends. Now, if you feel like you're good, you get that postseason letdown, hey, go to our YouTube channel, get an instant pick me up, watch some of those old videos that you didn't may have skipped over, some of those interviews that you didn't that you kind of sleptwalk through. And we're going to be here, and and just because we're not covering games every week doesn't mean that we don't need input from you. Contact us, give us ideas, things you want to see. Again, we're for the kids, but we're all about you guys. And, that being said, thank you so very much to our sponsors. Thank you so very much to our viewers. And thank you so very much to the players and the coaches that have provided, and the other media outlets that have provided their time and, their friendship to help us get this thing moving. Have a Merry Christmas, y'all.
It's been a fun season, and it's kind of a shame that it had to come to an end, but here we are sitting here the second week in December with new state champions, new Mr. Bowl winners, and a lifetime full of memories for a lot of players and coaches and fans as well. It's been a great ride, and I can't stress enough how much I want to thank each and every one of you who has not only come up to us during a game or, hit us up on social media and just all the nice comments that you guys have had for us. That's great for us, and it makes us feel good about what we're doing. And thank you for that. Like the guys have said, we're not done. We've got plenty to provide for you, not just in the coming weeks, but also hopefully in the years to come as well. And we've got to say goodbye to 2022. 2023 really isn't that far away, because come April and May, you're going to have some scrimmages come up. It's really not that far away, folks. Just trust me on that. And then around about June and July, that 7-on-7 starts to ramp up again, and then the itch starts to come back. And it's not going to take long to get up to a fever pitch, and 2023 season kicks off in August. We're going to be ready to go, and I hope you are too. Thank you to all the sponsors who have made this possible for us. Obviously, Miracle Auto Group for sponsoring this show and the Player of the Week, for Innovate Medical for sponsoring us for the last couple of years, Fifth Gear Technology Solutions for sponsoring our scoreboard show, which will return in 2023. Also, the Fans Inc. Definitely go check out wearethefans.org to see their mission and what they're trying to do for the programs in Metro Nashville. And also for Gas Tide for their sponsorship during the playoff run. We can't do it without your help. We can't do it without your support. Our YouTube channel, go subscribe. It's free to do. I know people kind of wonder, subscriptions cost money. This one doesn't. Just go click the subscribe button and get all our content right there in one place. It's easy to do, and it helps us along the way. It kind of helps us closer to our mission, and that's to provide some of the best coverage in Middle Tennessee of high school football for you, the fans. That's who we do it for. We love to do it, but we can't do it without your support. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you so much for all the support this year. Have a wonderful and safe holiday season. And it won't be too long before we're talking to you all again here on the Midstate 48, driven by Miracle Auto Group. And for all of us here at 615 Preps, we got to say thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Big things are coming.
Bye.
Once again, thanks to wearethefans.org for their BlueCross Bowl sponsorship. And one more thank you to those sponsors. Miracle Auto Group out there in Gallatin. Innovate Medical. Fifth Gear Technology Concepts. Gas Tight. And the fans. Go to wearethefans.org to check out the mission for the Foundation for Athletics in Nashville schools.